1, 2, 3, 4. I got thoughts running through my head. I got thoughts, can't you see? I got thoughts, books I read. I got thoughts, won't you listen to
As an author who's trying to come up with a vision of the future, not necessarily a nice one. I certainly wouldn't want to live in this future. But it gets scary sometimes, and I write about it in one of the introductions to, I think, the third book, how a lot of the things that I came up with, that granted other people came up with and I kind of copied, things like, corporate administrative control of local governance licenses, things like controlling your own city or state or whatever as a corporation. Those things were scary, when I thought of them, and they're scarier now because they don't seem that far-fetched. I wrote about the emergency managers laws in that introduction that I talk about, and those aren't that far a step. Charter schools, corporate-run for-profit schools, for-profit prisons, for-profit water systems that lead to lead in the water, killing children in Flint, Michigan. That's the product of a mindset that believes corporate structures, for-profit structures, and the philosophy of for-profit enterprises are more efficient than government, than public run. Private run is more efficient than public run. And as someone who's worked in corporate culture for over 20 years, and as someone who has worked with both private and public entities in that capacity, it's bullshit. Neither is more efficient than the other by inherently. The differences end up being where the money goes. Because the money it's all funded by taxpayers. So if the money goes to a private entity, chances are pretty good that some of that money is going towards a profit, which has nothing to do with administration, nothing to do with efficiency, and nothing to do with serving anyone but the people who are profiting. And I'm not to say that privatization of government functions is bad as a general rule. It's not. It's just like anything else. It's how you implement it and how you account for it. But the very idea that has seeped in that says government is never the solution, it's always the problem. Thank you, Ronald Reagan, for that. I mean, he's not the originator, but he's the one who put that phrase, made that phrase, a big deal. Government is only as efficient as you make it, and it's only as accountable as you make it. So if you hire people for a government who do not believe that a government can be the solution, who believe that government will always be a problem, are not going to, by default, make an efficient, accountable, effective, helpful government. And a lot of the times, those people who don't believe government can do it are only saying that because they know they or their buddies can make a profit off of things the government was doing. We've seen plenty of examples just in the last 19 years. KBR and Halliburton during the Iraq War doing military logistics, and doing it badly or not at all, and the money just disappearing. Nobody's in jail for most of that, if I'm not mistaken. For-profit prisons, another good example. The student loan system, which adds like at least a 2% profit cost on top of any administrative abilities, and we have an entire generation of kids coming out of college with student loan debt they'll never pay off. for-profit colleges and for-profit charter schools not providing better education. I mean, you can look, there's plenty of statistics that say these places aren't providing a better education than public schools. They just cost more, or they just make someone money. Again, none of those things, nothing in the private structure of corporate life automatically and inherently says it costs less and it's more efficient. None of them. The LGLs are a perfect example. The local governance licenses are how I manifest that. It's like all these LGLs have done is come in and taken over the administrative functions that used to be run by publicly elected officials. They elect a mayor, but everything else, for the most part, on down is appointed and is a corporate structure. All you're doing is changing where the money goes when corporations run when corporations privatize public functions. That's all you're doing. All you're doing is changing where the money goes when the corporations run privatize public functions. And the LGLs are the perfect example of that. And I'll probably have another video where I talk more about this in depth, or I may cut this and make this its own damn video. But that's where a lot of my stuff in the Bridge comes from, in the Bridge Chronicles comes from. Hope you've liked the video. So this has been my thoughts. Hope you enjoy it. Let me stop this for now.